You're on. You can't see yourself, but you're on.
Good.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Evelyn Thoren. I am your host for 2 hours, but we have the Dawn Patrol from 6 to 7 a.m., and we have City Life from 7 to 8 a.m. approximately. There's some little time in there where we have transitions. My co-hosts, Sam Chase and Bob Hoey. Thanks, guys, for getting up extra
Morning.
special early. And John McDonough is behind the camera, sometimes on the camera. You may hear his voice from afar without
Hey,
him
how's the
being
weather
on a...
outside, kids?
Good. A little chilly, but very
Yeah,
nice.
it was about, 37 on my van coming in this morning.
Beautiful air.
But it was the first morning coming in that if I had so chose, I could have worn sunglasses. It wasn't dark enough.
And I'll say this to you, enjoy the day because you're in for about a week of not knowing what it's going to do. Rain, wind, everything for about a week. So
They said
Again?
it, they said
this
it
is
was,
the last good day for a while.
that's
yeah.
what they said on Channel 5. They
Yeah.
said it was going
I
to
don't want the wind. I gotta
cool
put the
down
boat in
next
the water.
week. I've already cut my grass. I did that last Thursday.
Yeah, Glenn's out there doing odds and ends of things. He changed the wheels on the lawn tractor. So we have there's 2 new wheels on the lawn tractor.
Gotta
And
have
then he's-
wheels.
He's got to change the blade.
New tires?
Yeah. Yep. So he ordered those. It gets a lot of use. The tractor still has its original tires, but my
How's
son
the
has the
Kubota
tractor.
doing?
Pardon me?
The tractor's the Kubota?
Yes. And then we have a John Deere lawn tractor.
Is it all-wheel drive Kubota or two-wheel?
It's two-wheel.
I think it's 2 wheels. It's
two-wheel.
just the back wheels.
It's
Understood.
two-wheel.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's old.
But it works.
Like
so
us.
Well, not that old. Anyway, hopefully I'll be able to get the tractor up to our other location. I need to move an awful lot of large rock because I'm going to
Now,
re-landscape.
Let me ask you a question. If you had to drive the tractor from Chelmsford to New Hampshire, how long would that take?
Days.
No,
What's the top speed?
I would say 20, 25.
Oh, it will go that fast?
It may go that fast. But I consistently,
So-
I'm not sure, but
So
I,
figure 15 miles an hour. How many miles are we talking? 100?
so, no, it's about 83. 15, 18,
Oh.
86.
So
So it would take the better part
about-
of a day to
yeah,
get there.
About 6 hours.
Provided I had enough fuel. I'd have to
Okay.
bring fuel with me just in case. But that's highway driving, and you can't drive it on the highway
Of course
because
not.
there's no license plate. So it might take several days to get up there, or 2 days, because you would have to do all the back roads, and then you have to know how to do the back roads. And then I'm not exactly sure if you'd have to let all the police departments know you're driving a tractor on the roads, because again, you don't have a license to do that.
No,
They don't care.
Well, that depends.
depends on the police department.
Put farm vehicle on the back.
You have to
Put a
have a
farmer's hat on and they'll just ignore you.
Well, I'm
farm.
not driving it up there. It'll be on a
Sam is.
it'll be
I'll
on a
do it.
trailer.
I'll do it. I like doing stuff like that.
He's got a farmer's hat.
I have in the past driven it from my house to another location that's a short distance away, and I have to go on the main roads.
Isn't it insured by your homeowners?
I don't know if I ever listed it.
If you put it on a public highway, it's different. You can get a farm plate. A farm plate allows you to drive the vehicle within 20 miles of your where it's principally garaged.
I particularly do
Right.
not like driving on the roads
Yeah.
because the roads where I live in Chelmsford are narrow.
Yes, they are, and windy.
They just don't have sidewalks. They're plenty wide.
There's
My
no-
golf
there's no
cart,
sidewalks.
Like the golf cart we have, checked it out. It's insured
The golf
by
cart.
the, yeah, it's insured. Homeowners policy insures that. As long as you're not giving rides to people.
Oh, no, you can't put anybody on this.
So I can't, it's like if somebody's in a rush to go to the depot, I can't say, hop in, I'll give you a ride over.
So you use the golf cart just on the property here?
Well, I take the grandkids for a ride on the common sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm someone that believes they should raise the age limit for license. Should be
sometimes I take it down to
Should be
Santoros.
18. You should at least be 18. Maybe a little older, to be honest with you. That's how, and I've made a living off the streets, driving taxis and Ubers. These roads are bad. All over the phone. The phone. That's the only issue I have. The phone is so bad, it's crazy.
Well, I think in today's society, you may get traction with that, but when we grew up, I mean, I knew how to drive at 12. You didn't have the
Yeah, so
the
did I.
people on
Yeah,
the
'cause
on the
you-
roads. You didn't have the idiots out there not knowing what to do and trying to hurry up. And well, you always had somebody, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't the volume of people that are stupid idiots. When I drove down yesterday to see my girlfriend who lives in Whitman, on the way down, and I left late enough so that I would try to avoid some of the traffic going down, and I go 128, and of course that's will date me because now it's like 93, 95, and then I take 24, and then I cut across. But anyway, that's beside the point. The point I'm trying to make is this time going down, the traffic backed up close to where you get onto Route 20 and the Mass Pike, and I'm thinking accident. You know, and I have Waze, and it doesn't show accident, but on the other side
Yes,
going
it does.
north. No, it doesn't show an accident on my side. And it
Someone's
doesn't,
reported it does.
I understand that, but
Did you
there
report?
was no accident on my side.
I got you, but you say it doesn't.
Well, it didn't.
I'm turning to Cliff, I like to
I'm
correct
sorry,
you.
but it didn't show that.
Never mind. I know what you're,
It shows accidents sometimes if it's reported
Right.
in the direction I'm going on my side of the street, but if it's on the other side, it doesn't always show it. But I looked over and I see this large white SUV and the state police walking away, looking like he had given the guy a ticket, and I'm saying, why would that wouldn't be, and this is all in a matter of seconds. And then further down, probably 300 feet, in the middle of 128 North, is a small vehicle upside down.
Uh-oh.
And there's glass everywhere, and the doors are open.
Oh, boy.
And then maybe 10 feet, 15 feet behind that is a humongous tractor-trailer truck pulled over. So if I wanted to try to figure out what happened, my thing is that white SUV tried to cut somebody off, and
Probably.
then I don't know what, it must have hit that car and flipped it, and the tractor-trailer truck was also there trying to get off to go on to the Mass Pike. But I mean, it was awful, and that traffic was backed up, miles and miles and miles. So it had happened a lot sooner than when I left, but there was nothing, and I didn't look up to see if there were any fatalities
Well,
with regard to that. I meant to do that.
That's awful. I think it was for traffic, two things. Number one, there are just so many more vehicles on the road
Oh, without doubt.
than there were 50, 60 years ago. I mean, when I was growing up in the 50s, most people in my neighborhood where I lived had one car. Most of families were not two-car families. In fact, I can think of one family that was, and we thought, wow, that's pretty ritzy. They have two vehicles. But they had 7 kids, okay? So I think that might have been one reason they had the 2 cars. But most people had one car, and actually there were 3 or 4 families in my neighborhood that had no cars, okay? The people worked in the center of town, and it was like a half a mile walk. So they had no vehicles, all right? Today, you drive by any house that has teenage children in it, and you're going to see 4 or 5 cars in the driveway. I mean, it seems like
Sam, did you have horses? We had horses in Lowell when I was a kid.
no. Well,
Not a lot.
we had one guy in town that had in the 50s and he was the junk guy, and he had a horse and wagon. But as far as I know, I don't remember any others. That was just the one. But there just weren't the vehicles. And the second thing, and I've said this before, the cars today practically drive themselves. You don't have to have any driver engagement at all, and that contributes. And my brother has a old-fashioned manual shift car. In fact, it's a 6-speed. And I had to drive his car last week. And let me tell you something. That's a workout, okay? When you're driving that car with a 6-speed manual transmission, you have to pay attention. You have to know the road conditions. You have to decide what gear the car has to be in. When you've got that kind of engagement going on, you cannot be a distracted driver.
No, you
You've
can't.
got
You
to
can't.
pay attention.
Well, that's
all
the
right?
biggest issue, without
Yeah.
a doubt. It's the, even an Uber driver, like myself,
Yeah.
I did that for years, I don't do it anymore, but you're distracted. You
Mm-hmm.
look down at your GPS quite a bit. You might not be on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
But nowadays, I drive around, go look, people are driving, they got the phone up above, not trying to hide it at least. That's what most of us do,
Yeah.
we hide it. They got it right up in.
Yeah, but, so they can see, go back and forth.
Well, yeah, because
but
they have to look at it,
That's
right.
how bad it is.
Yeah, but
Everybody's
you,
on
they,
their
you
phone.
shouldn't be doing any of that
No.
because, and that's why there are laws regarding 16-year-olds, not 16-and-a-half-year-olds in Massachusetts, not having telephones, not having underage kids in the vehicles. I mean, there's a lot of.
That's a good law.
Yeah, for at least a year.
When they passed that, I was in favor of that.
Yeah, I didn't have an
Yeah.
issue with that either.
Or there's cities right now, though, like a little boy just got killed, 5 years old, by a bus. It's just, and towns are already putting speed bumps everywhere, and law enforcement. To me, you have to do it. The same thing with parking. If you don't enforce parking, people are going to park anywhere, in Lowell anyways.
Oh, the parking is awful in
Oh,
Lowell.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, one of my biggest pet peeves, well, I have several, because I do a lot of highway driving. People don't use blinkers.
Oh,
They don't use their directionals.
Yep.
Or they use their directionals and forget to turn them off,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're not quite sure what they're going to do. The other is the person that thinks that they can get someplace super fast because what they're doing is they're weaving.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're
Very
in the passing
dangerous.
lane, they get beside somebody not going. So now they're going to go in this lane, and then then they go to the outside lane, then they speed up, and then they go in front of those guys, and then they get in front of whatever the line is.
and then
here.
20 minutes later, the guy is just one car length
Yes.
ahead of you. He hasn't gained anything, right?
Plus,
Yeah,
over the years.
Unbelievable.
And I could say over the decades, you figure out, or at least I have, that, and you can do the calculation mathematically. It's one of those algebra problems that you hated to do, in terms of if I go so fast, if I drive so fast for so many miles, and when am I going to get
right.
to point B from point A? And you're only going to be a minute or two faster.
It doesn't-
Depending upon
yeah.
how fast you drive, and it's not worth it.
It isn't.
It's not worth taking the chance to do that. And the only way that you can ever make up 5 minutes worth is to really go like 90 miles
right,
an hour.
exactly.
And you can't do that on side streets because Massachusetts doesn't have straight streets. So there's a lot of factors that people are completely unaware of. But when I'm driving, a lot of times I don't drive as much in the outside lane unless there's a lot of traffic. I drive on the right lane, only so that I have an option that if there's a problem, I have leeway.
Exactly, that's
I
the-
have
yes.
choices that I
is
can
the
make.
right, well, if you drive in the right lane, you've eliminated your chance of being sideswiped by 50%, okay? Nobody's going to sideswipe you on the right if you're in the right lane, all right? So you've automatically increased your survival chances by 50%.
As far as the phone goes, everyone complains about it and everyone talks or texts while driving.
I don't.
Well, I talk while I'm driving because it's a diversion in terms of the
Well,
timeline.
You can have your,
For hours.
you can have your phone, if you have an
I have
audio
a
system.
Bluetooth.
Right, then that's okay.
I'm not holding my telephone.
That's
And then-
okay,
And
right.
Glenn gave me, what is it, a phone cup holder or something?
Yeah.
And so that helps. And every car in their driveway are not crap boxes like we all had as vehicles. Well, we didn't have crap boxes
Well,
for
we did.
vehicles.
We had crap boxes.
We had, I distinctly remember, I think it was a 1953 Plymouth. And everything was manual in those days. It was unique if you could have an automatic. The biggest problem on the highway is people blocking the passing lane. The far left lane is for passing.
You
not
couldn't
traffic.
get an automatic transmission in a 53 Plymouth.
You know what I do now, just for fun,
And it
when
was
I'm on the
green.
highway, and I've been
Yep.
on the highway quite a bit lately, down there Route 9 and Needham and those areas, I stay right in the middle lane, 65 miles an hour, and I put it on cruise control, and my right foot, instead of being on the gas pedal, is beaten to the music. I stay right there. And guess what? About I'd say 70% of all traffic
Goes right by
blows by me doing 90.
Oh, yeah.
And very few cars pass me on the right, but they do still pass on the right. That's something I never really did, pass on the right.
Well, it used to be illegal, if you remember.
But we all
It
were
isn't
taught
anymore.
by either our grandfather or our father. You sat on their lap, you learn how to drive.
Yeah, yeah.
The people that are teaching them now are on the phone while the kids are trying to learn
Wonderful.
how to drive.
That's great.
Listen, I can't believe how many issues the phone has caused. I just can't believe it. And the more I look at it, it's terrible.
But you know,
It's terrible.
I gotta tell you something. All right, so everybody knows how old I am. So I've grown up.
Well, remind us, Sam.
Well, I'm 78, all right. So I've grown up most of my life without a cell phone, okay? But yesterday, I had to go to Worcester, and I've been, very busy and a lot of things on my mind the last week and very distracted, and so I'm trying to remember everything. So I get all the way to Worcester, and I realize I left my phone at home, okay? And I said to myself, oh my God, I said, I hope I don't break down on the way home. Because, we've all gotten so used to and this is.
It's a crutch.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where I really, really like the cell phone, because it just gives you a feeling of security. If you're driving and you're isolated out on the highway and the car breaks down, I mean, at least you have a way of communicating with the outside world. Without that cell phone, you're walking 10 miles, okay? And I thought to myself, oh boy, I hope I don't have a breakdown or something, but.
They are beautiful things.
And I
There's
got
no
home
doubt
and I
about
said
it.
to my wife, I said, imagine that. I said, 15 years ago, I mean, that wasn't even a thing. We didn't.
Oh, I had a bag phone that
Yeah.
plugged into my cigarette lighter.
Well, I think Candy had the first cell phone that was ever invented. She was waiting for somebody to get another one to talk to, because she's addicted to that stuff. She really
She
is.
even has it on her watch.
Yeah, but I had my first one, maybe 25 years ago. It was company. Company issued me a cell phone because I had to have one for my job. But then it was maybe about 10 years later that I got my own personal phone, so.
Well, if I
yeah.
find the bag phone, it's somewhere in my garage.
Oh,
bring it in.
I'm sure you still have it, Evelyn.
Oh, I kept it for a collectible, because I also have some other phones. I really
Everyone's a
need-
bit of a pack rat.
Oh, she doesn't throw anything away.
Well, I'm
bit of a
trying.
pack
I got
rat.
rid of those 3 chairs.
No, I got rid of those 3 chairs.
I
And
cleaned
you
them.
know how fast those chairs went? When did you put them out there?
In the afternoon,
Yeah, well, they were gone within 3 hours.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, I have more.
Okay.
Not more. Well, I have more chairs,
I
but I
try
got to
to
bring
do.
those down.
I
for
try to be a little bit like Evelyn. I can't throw things away. I try though. I just
good for
found.
you.
I just found the 5-gallon bucket of wiffle balls.
Wiffle balls, those might
Yeah.
be worth something,
And
Bob.
my 9-year-old granddaughter loves to play wiffle balls.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
That's
how
a lot of
I'm
fun.
relieving my stress lately. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
The stuff that I have isn't stuff I purchased. Most of it. I would say 95% of what I own, I didn't buy. We had different estates. When 47 years ago, when my cousin died, I took all the books that predated 1930. Some of them are in the mid-1800s. A question, when the 4 of you got your license, did you have driving school? I did.
I didn't.
I did.
I did not.
However,
mean,
my uncle taught me how to drive when I was 12.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they had driving school then. I don't remember it.
Well, they had it, and in my case, I got my license in May of 1963, and back then, you could get your license on your 16th birthday, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And
I got mine then.
there were no learner's permits.
I had a learner's permit.
No, when I got mine, there were
Did you have
no,
a driving test?
yes, and it was worse without the learner's permit, because with a learner's permit, you take a written test, and then you do your thing and you drive. Before they had the learner's permits, while you were taking your driving test, the guy peppered you with the questions. So you got the written test while you were driving. So it was a lot better to take your learner's permit and get that out of the way. So, but got my license, and then it was more money for the insurance if you did not have the driving school. So what many of us did, I did it, and several of my friends did it, we got the license right away, and then after we got the license, we took driver's ed in the high school, and the teachers loved it because they didn't have to do anything. We already had our driver's license, and they just sat there and drove. I remember one time I showed up for my thing after school, and the driving guy, he says, I got a great day. I said, why? Why is your day so great, Mr. Bulger? I got 6 guys with licenses. I don't have to do anything, right? They thought that was great. The other thing was that when I got my license, Massachusetts had 2 kinds of driver's license. You had a standard shift license and an automatic license. And the driver cars were all shift cars because nobody wanted the restricted license, okay? But at that point, it was beginning to be a problem because in '63, between 50 and 60% of the kids didn't have a shift car at home to practice on. So they would do that in the driver car, but they couldn't practice on a manual shift car for their license. So that was an issue. And we had 2 shift cars at home, and my father very nicely would offer that to my friends who didn't have manual shift cars at home to practice. A lot of times, we would go out, and there'd be 2 or 3 of my friends in the back of the car. My father would let the kids practice on our car, so that they get their license. So that was an issue, for a lot of kids. But even the automatic kids with no shift car at home, they still did not want the restricted license. They wanted to get the manual shift license. And I think they changed the law maybe 3 or 4 years after I got my license to make no difference. But that was a problem when I was getting my license, that automatic versus standard car business. So
I hated to be,
Yeah.
with a manual, I hated to be on a hill, because nobody really taught me what to do.
very easy.
So I figured it out when I think when Glenn he had a '73 Mustang hatchback, and it was easy to shift that car in comparison to the Dodge Dart that I had growing up, and then my family had a Rambler. So when you were talking about numbers of vehicles, currently we have a lot.
No, it's ridiculous.
But the I don't recall how long we had 2 vehicles, how far back we went as a family, because one of the persons that we had the text message that came across said something about the vehicles that we had. But my father was always into buying everything brand new. He didn't want to inherit somebody else's problems. But I think the Dodge Dart was somebody else's vehicle, because in order to get 2 cars, you had to buy a used car because you couldn't afford both.
Right, exactly.
And car insurance was very different than that it is now. But my parents ended up with 2 vehicles only because my mother had so many errands and so many different things to do once we had a house with my grandmother and different things, that I think it was more for her, so that she didn't have to take my father to work, drop him off, and then pick him up later.
Oh, it's a tremendous convenience. We became a 2-car family when I was 10, and only because my grandfather died, and we got his car, which was this was in 1957, and we got my grandfather's car, which was a 1938 Buick. It was 19 years old at the time, but that was, we had a 53 Dodge, that was our car, and then my grandfather died, and we got the 38 Buick. So that's when we became a 2-car family. Yeah.
Well, one of our vehicles, I think, is an 83 Malibu. It only has like 55,000 miles on it, but that was Glenn's aunt's car. So we didn't buy it. I mean, it wasn't intentional.
You still driving that car?
I don't know what he's going to do with that. I know
Because Glenn said that there were issues, and when he
he
took...
needs to get rid of it.
Yeah, when he took it to I suggested that he take it over to the Chrysler Jeep dealer in Acton, because they have an old car,
They did. He did for
Section.
an evaluation.
and the guy said you can't get the parts anymore for that particular
Right.
engine.
Yeah, so what he was going to do was take the engine out and put a different engine in.
Well,
and
you
I
could
said,
you could do that.
why?
Yeah. I did. He was a drill
Sounds like
sergeant.
Mr. Chase
Yeah.
had a cool dad.
He was a drill sergeant, though. I mean, he was. Let me tell you that. Man, but he was fair. You know, he was a drill sergeant.
My father wasn't like that. My mother was. My mother should have had that title.
Yeah.
So
That's what-
Bobby, how did you learn how to drive? Bobby has quite the driving career
Well,
with taxi cabs.
Yeah, well, my father was a taxi cab driver. I mean,
That'll
he
do it.
drove about 80 hours a week. I mean, the guy was always on the roads, and I could whistle down any taxi and get a free ride home from
Did he
anywhere.
have his own cab, or did he work for a cab company?
He had his own company one time, so did
Oh.
I, but you have to have more than two vehicles. It's just, you can't make it. It's a tough business. But they're all gone now. Uber has destroyed
destroyed,
taxi
okay,
business.
yeah.
I think Town Taxi, we got in Lowell, we had.
Oh, I
They got
remember.
white-
I
yeah.
remember that.
And then Luna Taxi, I like their, said, we'll take you to the moon and back. It's called Luna.
They were the last ones, I think, Luna.
Yeah,
They
but
might still be around, I don't know.
back in the day, you were lucky if your
That's
odometer
right.
had over 70,000
That's right.
before it crapped out. Yeah, see, I'm someone that around 1970, my father bought me my first motorcycle, and then I graduated to Rice Rockets. I drove many, many times 130 miles an hour
Oh.
on 495.
Ouch.
Even on your boulevards, I was doing 125 mile against all the Portuguese kids in my neighborhood. They all had GTOs, 1969
Oh,
GTO,
sure.
Yeah.
and the judges.
GTX.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We were racing, but what slowed us down a little bit is when you got caught by like an Arthur Diet, a cop that had law enforcement. We had to keep our eyes open because he was going to get us. And then tickets and fines. And, I lost my rights to my license once for doing something crazy. It happens, but law enforcement's a key. Why don't we drive fast or drunk driving through Westford or Dunstable? Why don't we?
Because they'll nail you.
They'll get you.
They'll
See?
nail you.
And Lowell, once people hit Lowell up, I can do 50 now. I
Yeah.
can do 50. I can do whatever I want.
The
Well,
small
not
towns.
now, and we do
They're
not advise
enforcing
that.
it.
One at a time.
No, I'm saying in Lowell, we lost touch with that. We had some great officers that have retired. I have to give one. I call him Chicky. That's all. I'll give his nickname. Chicky.
Chicky.
He could be on the way off his route, going back to the police department, ready to go home after a long shift. And if someone drove by him doing 60 on Dutton Street, you know what he would do?
He'd chase
Turn
him.
around and go get him on the way home. Most of us at the prison, once we see that clock getting close, we're out the door.
There's a retired cop, Paul Paradise. He would do the
Yeah,
same thing.
great
He'd be on
cops.
his motorcycle going down Westford Street. He'd see somebody doing something wrong. He'd turn that bike around and bam, that was the end of that.
And all you do is
Good for
send a
him.
message. You don't have to do it all the time. But
Right.
once people start to know, oh boy, watch out in Chelmsford, or watch out in Lowell, but they're not doing that.
We
in Lowell
don't,
right now.
we don't have the traffic enforcement in Chelmsford that we did when I first moved to town back in '79, because they don't have the officers. We have fewer, actually, officers on our force now than we did 45 years ago. So, and I think the thing that's suffered is the traffic enforcement. They don't have as...
Well, hopefully, we don't get less. Now, in
Yeah.
keeping with driving, but for a different purpose, is they had May 1st, today is May 1st,
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
as a deadline in order for people to get their,
Real ID?
the real ID on their licenses.
I thought May 7th, wasn't it? Or-
They moved it.
Oh, okay.
Now, my license comes due, but that's the fall, so I figured that I have a passport if I want to fly, and I will then try to get
You don't
my-
have it yet?
Oh, no.
You don't need, if you have a passport. Yeah,
passport.
if you have a passport, you don't need a real ID.
And I don't fly that often, and I'm
Yeah.
not leaving the country. So, as far as the real ID
Not
goes,
a good excuse, Ev, but I'm listening to you.
If I have a passport, I don't
Dog
need
ate
it.
my homework.
I was going to wait until I had to renew my license and have it all happen at one time.
You can do
So,
that.
See, Evelyn heard there was a fee for the new license
Yes.
and she wouldn't pay.
Yeah,
There you go.
because I already paid for the passport, and I've renewed my passport, and I think I've used
stating
it
a
3
fact.
times since I got it.
Passport's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Even if you don't travel out of the country.
It's a great form of identification
is.
because you have to submit everything to them the same as if you're getting this real ID.
What really mystifies me, I renewed my license 2 years ago, and I had not had the real ID at that point. The previous time, they had just changed the rule, and they were so screwed up at the registry, and the stories were, it was taking people 4 and 5 hours, and I said, I'm not doing that.
You can
know,
go through AAA.
And, well, not back when they first started that. And so I said, I don't need it anyway, I've got a passport. So this last time, a couple of years ago, I did go through AAA, and thank God, because, you didn't have to deal with the crowds. But what always mystified me was they want all this documentation. Now, to me, if you have a United States passport, that is the premier documentation. You have been vetted by the State Department. It doesn't get any better than that. So
I'm impressed,
so-
Sam.
so-
how many do you think they got laid off over there?
well, I'm telling you,
Not a lot of
okay?
heavy lifting at the State Department. You're not impressing me. Sorry.
It doesn't matter, you still have to submit the
You've
same
still, yeah, it is.
information.
It's still
think that's the
considered,
purpose of
whether
the
you agree or
comments.
disagree, it is still, should be the highest degree of scrutiny that you will get is when you get a passport, okay? And to me, if you present a passport, you've already been checked out. I mean, why do you need to present anything else, okay? Because
Haven't you seen any James Bond movies?
yeah, to get the passport, you have to have a birth certificate, you have to have all that stuff. So you go to get your real ID, a passport is only one document that they'll accept. They want a bunch of other ones. And you say, wait a minute. And they want an original Social Security card. Okay?
I gotta figure out where
Not a
mine is.
copy. Well, I didn't have mine. I got my Social Security card when I was 14, okay? And it's long since gone. So I had to apply and get another original. And so that's why people aren't doing their real ID, because it requires a lot of effort, and you have to assemble a lot of documentation, and some people don't have the documentation, so it's completely understandable why people haven't done it. I get it, all right? But I said, you know what, I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it, and, fortunately, I went through AAA, I used the Acton office, and they were very good. The other thing is, if you're, that I learned, and this is new, if you're a military veteran, they ask you that question, and you have to submit a DD-214, which is discharge paper, right? And they'll stamp it right on your license, okay? Veteran, it's stamped right on there. So you have to scrounge up a DD-214, which most people don't have. So now you got to go chase that document, all right? So I spent quite a bit of time and, got all the stuff I needed. But it's a lot of work and a lot of effort, and that's why people have put it off,
Well, John made a comment about,
So-
have you seen a James Bond movie? But you have to realize that James Bond is a secret agent out of
England.
England, and they can create passports if they would like to,
Oh,
because
sure.
that's the State Department, we'll put that in quotes. There are a lot of other ways in which you can get false passports, and you can actually watch, movies similar to The Godfather, and
Oh, I
there's a lot of
think
stuff out there.
any official document
Yeah,
can be
anything
counterfeited.
can be falsified.
Right.
And if something is stolen, it can be modified. So you want to make sure that you don't get anything stolen.
I remember many years ago, oh God, I can't remember, but Massachusetts did something with the driver's license. I think it's when they first came out with the photo licenses. and there was this big advertising campaign. Oh, this license, it can't be counterfeited. It
Yeah,
can't.
right. They all
And so the day the licenses came out, the next day on the news reported, oh, they already turned up a counterfeit.
Yeah.
It took the counterfeit industry less than 24 hours to figure out how to duplicate this license that supposedly couldn't be counterfeited, so,
I don't think the registry is
Yeah.
the way it was years ago, but years ago it was another swamp. People got hired because of who they knew.
It's better now than it was
Yeah,
then.
they've
it is
improved
better.
a little.
Yeah,
a little
it is
bit,
better.
yeah.
But AAA is a wonderful entity.
No, they are.
As an alternative to going to the RMV, but it's not everywhere. I mean, it is in Massachusetts, obviously, and there is an office in Lowell on the Pawtucket Boulevard, and I've been there many times, and I remember licenses are usually for 5 years. Well, when I had my license renewed the last time, I had my right shoulder replaced. So I went there. And it was, it was an interesting adventure.
The star.
Simply
here tells
because
you it's-
I had to sign my name carefully because it was my right arm and I'm right-handed. When we after we go to break from 7 to 8, we have some topics that we're going to talk about with regard to Chelmsford. We're in the middle of town meeting. We will probably conclude this evening. We had town meeting Monday night.
We definitely will conclude this evening.
Right, but we'll
because-
talk about that
yeah.
in the next hour because we will have more, if
Chelmsford
anybody
people.
joins us, Chelmsford will join us. And there's some other issues that are in Chelmsford, and we will be talking about those. Of course, you never know what else might come up because I certainly didn't think we were going to take 40 minutes to talk about driving.
Well, then since
I know,
since we're
amazing,
going to be
isn't it?
talking a lot about Chelmsford, this would be a good time to talk a little bit about, to me, the Supreme Court.
Go ahead.
And that's why I wore this jacket today. This was George Anthes's. It's hand-me-down from his beautiful wife. Gave George, I fit in all of George's clothes. And
That's amazing.
yeah, and George was someone that really fought for number one, he was a dead-up Republican. We all know that, okay? And I sat next to him at his house for a couple of years, and I became a close friend. But the Supreme Court was at the top of his list. It really was.
Oh,
And,
George was very much into the workings of the court. That's absolutely right.
Oh,
He was
Supreme
a
Court was
lawyer.
everything to him. And right now, there's some really big issues that are in there. They're working on, taxes on tips and that. That's what the Congress and the people are working on. Don't tax the Social Security anymore for the seniors.
Hands off.
Huh?
Hands
I
off.
just like that kind of talk, though. Listen, I'm still a Trumper. I'm not afraid to say I'm a Trumper. Have patience. He's only been there 100 days. What, you think the swamp was going to get clean that quick? He's definitely cleaning the swamp. But when it comes to the Supreme Court...
That's why he's getting so much pushback.
Yeah, well, there's two big things in there that are very close to my heart, and one I have to think about Cam K. I just did Evelyn a FaceTime with him, and he's in the deep woods of Cambodia doing some great stuff. That's all I can say about him. But he was someone way back in our history in Lowell that fought to help people that put their kids in parochial schools. Let's give them a voucher.
School
Let's
choice.
Yeah. And that's in the Supreme Courts. That's in there right now. And then border-wise, what Trump's trying to do to make our country safe again, they have to do something in the Supreme Court coming up right now.
Well, they
Maybe
also-
the biggest issue as far as I'm concerned.
Right, but they're also one of the things that I think a lot of people are listening to because this will be a slow walk, and that's to allow children, parents to opt their children out of certain sex discussions or books being read that are in violation of their religious rights. And one of the questions that was asked, they said, you're not trying to get rid of the books? And they said, no, we just don't want to have our children
Exposed.
be
Right.
exposed in a classroom to the content that's in the books that's being read. And so it was a whole different approach to indoctrinating children from kindergarten on up. I do not want to get into a deep discussion currently, but I will say that I've been doing a lot of research on the trans movement and trying to look at it from a scientific data collection and an understanding biologically and psychologically as far as why is there so much of it happening currently. Because there always was a certain amount of individuals that would have fallen into a particular category. And when you have psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, and whatever, they have I'm trying to think of what it's called, but they have a lot of volumes where they can go for references and read what's in there. And there's not very much on this particular topic of trans because there's not enough information on it psychologically to put in this particular set of volumes. I have to look more of that up. I hadn't planned on saying much this morning
Excuse me.
about this.
Does that have some, I thought what's in the Supreme Court is about having a Catholic charter school.
That's one. There's another one. You had parents, I don't know if it was in Virginia, Maryland, one of the states,
Virginia.
and there were other surrounding counties that allowed opt-out, but this one county didn't, and they brought it all the way to the Supreme Court saying, around the country you have opt-out programs for your children. They did not allow our children to opt out. They were forced to be able to have to sit there and listen to things that, according to the parents, they disagreed with the content. And in some areas, they've been told that they cannot.
They can't opt out.
They can't opt out. They can't opt in. I can talk all about that relative to what has gone on in the past with Chelmsford with regard to programs. I don't know what they do currently, but there was some other issues with regard to them. Certain districts in the country were told that they could not present certain LGBTQ plus whatever it is in the trans issues, but yet in these books it does. So they weren't necessarily putting it in the curriculum to teach the kids through the curriculum, but they were teaching the kids through reading the different books under the guise of the reading. Now,
The way I'm kind of taking it, and if I'm wrong, stop me, I just think the Supreme Court's going to be looking at a little bit of an issue like separation of church and state type of stuff, right?
when
I
people
think
talk,
that's the big vote,
when
if they
people
allow it.
well, they should allow parents to opt out. They should have a choice. If the parents are going to be responsible for the child, and legally, and if in some cases, if the kid goes and shoots people up, they can put the parents in prison, then the parents need to be able to have authority over what the kids are reading and learning and everything. It has to go complete, 100%. You can't pick and choose what the parents are responsible for. You can, but it's not fair. It's not the way things should be, and that becomes the part of the issue. But between the church and state, if you would like to, anybody would like to go back into some of the original writings and some of the different things, please correct me if I'm wrong, and I'd like to know what the references are, because I happen to have some books and volumes from the 1800s discussing this. And so we're beyond where the politics are currently. I did a paper on the separation of church and state, but it wasn't called that. It was 17th century Boston. I hadn't planned on doing it, and I did it when I was in high school, which was well over 50 years ago. It wasn't my intent, but as I read everything, the progress and the process in my paper did show that, where you had the church telling the government what to do, you had pastors that were in charge of different things. This is in the 1600s. And then slowly you had other people that took positions, and basically what they wanted to do was to have the no state-run religion, but the religion could advise the state.
You have to go back to the Constitution and read the exact language. And what's happened on the First Amendment is that has been stretched and perverted way beyond what the original intent was, and you don't have to do an awful lot of research to validate that. And I'll give you an example. So the First Amendment to the United States Constitution says, Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of religion, nor prevent the free exercise thereof. That's all it says. So what the First Amendment means is that the federal government will not establish a state religion. That's what it means, period. Doesn't mean anything more than that. Nor will it stop people from exercising and practicing their own religion.
Evelyn, read the text, please.
That's all it means. It doesn't mean all the things that everyone today
Well, no, because
says
what
it
they're
means,
doing is they're
okay?
doing it for their
Now,
political, he wants me to
Yeah,
read
go
this,
ahead. And
and then make sure you don't forget
yeah.
what you're going to say. People have had many years to prepare
Yeah.
for the real ID, and those who wait till the last minute only have themselves to blame.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Right, but I don't need to have
Yeah.
one, so I'm going to just, when I renew
Yeah.
my
How about
license, I'll do it that
We never give
way.
you one. Evelyn can never get a real ID.
I don't care,
There you go.
as long as I can renew my license so I can
Back to
drive.
Sam's
All
point,
right,
please.
so now here's the proof. It's very, very simple. You don't need to do a lot of research, okay? So in 1787, we adopt the federal Constitution, First Amendment, okay? Now, if the First Amendment really meant what people today say it means, and you just have to not even talk about religion everywhere, which is the current interpretation, then please tell me why we had a state church in Massachusetts until 1826. If you lived in Massachusetts in 1825, you, as a Massachusetts resident, you could be a Roman Catholic, but you were obligated to pay taxes to the Congregational Church, because in Massachusetts in 1825, Massachusetts had a state church. So are you telling me that for 35 years of the federal Constitution being in existence, if it actually meant what people today say it meant, how is it that Massachusetts got away with having a state church for 35 years? Please answer that question.
We're good at taxing people.
All right,
Taxing
all right,
churches. We're
so
good.
I'm sorry.
Let's tax anybody
It
that we
never-
can.
The First Amendment was never meant to be what the people today say it means. All it means is that the federal government doesn't have a right to compel people to pay taxes to a state church. That's all it meant. And the courts over the years have stretched that into something it was never, ever meant to be, okay? And just remember that if you lived in the state of Massachusetts in 1820, you paid taxes to the Congregational Church, because that was the established church in Massachusetts. And in 1826, Massachusetts changed their constitution to prohibit that practice, okay?
Right,
So
but when I did my-
those are facts, and they cannot be disputed, okay?
Right, but so when I did my research, what I ought to do is get you a copy of that paper. Might prove interesting. And over the years, I decided I would buy the books that I had found in the library in order to support everything, so I'd have my original references if anybody wanted to take a look at them, since, books do fall apart. But it showed that from 1630 until 1720, there was a transition in terms of how Massachusetts was run. And you had the church running it, and the ministers running it, and the congregation was
Oh, it
running
went
it.
way beyond 1720. If you read the history of the Revolutionary War in the 1770s up until 1783, in the cities and towns, mostly the towns, the state church, which was Congregationalism back then, everything was run through the church. Everything, the whole society was set
Right,
up that
but
way.
what they were trying to do
Yeah.
was they were trying to get it so that you wouldn't have the state-run
Mm-hmm.
religion, an establishment of a religion.
Mm-hmm.
You would have that as separate, but it could advise whoever was in the political arena. It went in one
That's
direction,
why-
but it didn't go in the other direction.
Reading the
and-
text,
And they
please.
Yeah,
wanted to
and
go in
that's-
the other
that's why
direction.
I like
that's why,
this.
yeah.
You guys are
Excuse
stuck
me.
on play
As
over
long as
there.
Evelyn keeps making real homemade
That's
baked
right.
goodies, she gets a pass. on
That's
the
right,
ID thing.
that's right, that's right.
But this morning, it's something you need to eat with a fork. So
So none of us are having any, because we don't have any forks. No.
I have forks, I brought forks.
Oh, you brought forks?
Oh, yes, and I brought everything you needed.
You bring
It's something
plates?
that I've
We
made,
having a
yes.
long break.
Plates and forks, okay, so we have
And we'll
a,
talk about that
we
In
have
the
a...
7 o'clock
We have
timeframe.
a Evelyn
We have 7
Goody.
minutes to go.
We have an
Yeah, I know.
Evelyn Goody that now requires we have a fork and a plate, so
Well, I was
that's
going to
okay.
bring whipped cream, but
Oh, well, let's not go overboard.
I chose not to do that.
I can't have whipped cream at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's
Oh, I can have
there's
that at
something
any
wrong with
point.
that, right?
Well, you have cream, if you have cream in your coffee, you can have whipped cream.
Well, that's true, I suppose.
There was a couple of other things that I thought was interesting, just to throw it out there, that has nothing to do necessarily with this country. There was an article that was out there that China is building a huge complex underwater. And it goes,
Why?
because what they want to do is to mine the ocean floor.
That makes sense, okay.
And in order to do so, they want to be there.
Yep,
And they want to create an environment that they can live in, because it's so far down. You have to be cautious about the pressure.
sort of like a
On the-
space station, only underwater, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So I personally have concerns about that, because China really doesn't care about the climate or the environment, so they could really screw things up. So that's something that I thought was of interest. Another thing that I thought was of interest was there was an article on earthquakes and fault lines. And we don't need to identify where all the fault lines are. We do know what's going on in California. We hear about what's going on sometimes in Pakistan, India, over in that particular Southeast Asia, that there may be massive earthquakes there. We don't hear about them too much on the east coast of Massachusetts,
now we seem to be pretty well secured in that area, right?
to a certain extent,
Yeah.
because we don't have any volcanoes on this side. Now,
right.
that doesn't mean there isn't activity, because you can see that in Iceland. Because there is activity that's there. But the article wasn't about the fault line as a straight line. It was about the fault lines, and that you have a major one, but then you have all the little ones, like roots that go off. And that because of, my assessment is because of technology, they were able to find that there are minor earthquakes with all of the little, I would call it like tendrils off the main chute. And years ago, they would consider, it as a major fault line when you'd have some kind of one of these earthquakes, whether it was a 1, a 2, a 6, or an 8, whatever it might be, instead of the major one. And today, they're being able to delineate the location of those in the little tendrils that go out from that particular fault line. I do find that really
Well, the Earth,
interesting. It's constantly moving.
it's constantly shifting and moving, right?
Right, and we do know that there's a certain amount of activity under Yellowstone National Park, and there's been movies on that and all kinds of different things. If Vivian Merrill was here, she'd tell you that if you want earthquake insurance, it's added to your policy.
Must be expensive, though,
And
depending on where you live.
When
right?
I looked into it, the deduction was $8,000.
Okay, so you have a $8,000 deductible.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if anybody's looking at any of those, there's a lot of different things that if you want to be prepared, it's a minor thing to be prepared as far as that goes, because one of the biggest things is if you're on gas, you want to shut your meter, whatever it is, off
Yeah,
outside.
definitely.
Because if there are any explosions and stuff, it'll go all the way down the line on your street. We've seen that. Was it?
Well, I would guess that, and if we have Vivian, and we'll ask her, obviously, but I would guess that earthquake insurance in Massachusetts is probably less expensive than it would be on the West Coast, right? Because the probability of the earthquakes is less here than it would be there.
Right, and that would be the same as far as having hurricane insurance. And then you need
Right.
to be able to be very specific about your hurricane
gotta be named.
insurance.
So-
Pardon me?
It's got to be named hurricane.
Well, you have to, yes, and you also have to define whether or not it's a water or a wind event.
So if you could buy flood insurance in the middle of Arizona, it would probably be relatively cheap versus buying flood insurance if you lived on Hampton Beach, right?
Well, to a
So,
certain extent,
yeah.
yes, but you also, when we bought a piece of property on a small lake, the insurance agent asked me if the water was still or moving. And
And you
it's,
said, yep, it's still water. No.
well, it's not moving. A
Right.
moving definition would be a river. So if you had waterfront property on a river, your insurance would be higher.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so
Yeah.
that's something else I thought was of
Well,
interest.
waterfront property in most communities if you want insurance, you have to have flood insurance.
And it must be
It's requi-
expensive.
So at the bank, oh yeah.
They require
As
it.
soon as you have to have it, it's like car
Oh, yeah.
insurance in Massachusetts is so much higher than New Hampshire.
Oh, sure.
Why? Because the law in Mass, you have to have it. If you don't have to have it in New Hampshire, cheaper. But flood insurance is necessary if you have a loan. Most banks require you have to have.
Oh, yeah, if you have a
flood insurance.
mortguage, there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through.
And I'm guessing it's-
However, if you don't have
yeah.
a mortgage, you don't have to jump through those hoops unless you
It's a little
choose to
easier,
do so.
yeah.
Correct, but if,
Right.
like, I'm in a condo association, you're stuck with the condo association.
That's exactly right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's why I don't want to be
So we have
involved
flood
in any
insurance at the
HOAs.
condo, and,
Well, you're on the beach. You're
Yeah.
just off the beach.
Yeah,
You could have floods,
Yeah, that's, the probability is higher, so
especially
the
during,
cost is gonna be
during a
higher.
hurricane.
Right.
my guess is, if we have a tidal wave, and this is was my question, I was on the board, I asked the insurance company, they could never answer the question. If a tidal wave, not a flood, a tidal wave knocks the building off its foundation, will the insurance company pay?
They have no answer?
Never got an answer.
Well, because that's not listed, but
That tells me you'd have a problem. If the insurance company
We're
can't
more
answer
likely
the
to have a
question.
tidal wave than a flood.
Yeah.
You
So-
can't flood the ocean.
So we're going to take a
Good
break
point.
because we're coming up to the 7 o'clock mark. Please stay with us. We will join you guys shortly after 7 o'clock. We just have this little transition that we go through because we're bringing some other people online. And
And we'll be back. Thanks.
yes.
I'm surprised. Looks like a fall picture.
Welcome back to City Life. I'm Evelyn Thoren. I'm your host for the next approximate 56 plus a few seconds.
Evelyn, I gotta hog the camera for a second. So what is this?
That's my version of the Swedish apple pie, but I don't use an egg. I used flaxseed, so it comes up a lot crunchier.
Okay, thank you. I'll
There's apples in it.
I'll report back shortly.
Right. It's a very simple recipe. If anybody wants it, you can text in, and I'll give
Well,
it to you.
wait till John gives his verdict before you ask for it.
I'm not gonna say anything bad. You
Oh,
kidding
okay,
me?
all right. Just checking. All
He
right.
said he liked it before, so I thought,
Oh,
okay.
it's delicious.
Well, there you go.
He,
No doubt about it. You guys don't know what you're missing.
yeah, right. There's not a lot of sugar in it. Well, maybe there might be more in that one. When I make it was in a smaller pie plate. When I make the bigger pie plate, which is the same recipe, there's less sugar. And it's the Granny Smith apples.
It's better than a Twinkie. Much better than a Twinkie.
Well, absolutely,
They
because you
still
have
make
apples.
Twinkies? They still make Twinkies?
Yes,
Oh, okay. I haven't seen one
because
for
you never
years.
know. RFK Jr. may take them off the market.
Could be.
So you never know how
Hey,
that would be.
speaking of RFK, anybody watch Trump's debate on ABC?
Yes.
I
What'd you
thought,
think?
I only watched part of it, and my thing was, he was really giving it to the liberal news media by basically telling the poor guy on the other side that ABC sucks.
One word too many. So,
I
Sam,
thought-
what did you think?
I thought the interviewer was disrespectful to the office of the presidency.
I agree.
Okay? I mean, and you can't, I mean, I don't fault him for the tough questions he asked. That's okay.
Can't do it in the Oval Office.
But it was the tone that I didn't like.
I don't think Trump liked it either, but at
Well,
least he gave him time. He
yeah,
didn't say, I'm
yeah.
not going to talk to you.
Oh, no, I think it was good. And of course, I wish the president would be a little bit more focused when he answers. And I wish he would, well, I'll just leave it at that. He should not talk quite as much on the topics. He should answer the question in a focused manner, but that's not his personality.
No, it's not his style.
He can't help himself, but it hurts him. Trump needs to learn to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah,
I
but
would
that's not
say
going to
Trump's
happen.
got to let go of the 2020 election.
Yeah, among
Let
other
it go.
things.
Yeah, he's better off talking about the 2028 one.
We said this.
Aggravate them.
Right.
That's what they're doing to him.
We said this a few weeks ago, and even Bob, an ardent Trump supporter, agreed with me.
Without
I
a
said
doubt.
he's got to stop every time he opens his mouth saying what a jerk Biden was. He's got to knock that off, because even people that support his agenda are starting not to like that, all right? It's, and I understand it's human nature to want to blame your predecessor for,
Well, didn't Biden blame him for 4 years?
Of course, but that doesn't make it right. So the example I use is Paul Cohen when he came into Chelmsford, and there were plenty of things he could have blamed his predecessor for, and you never heard a single word from Cohen saying, well,
So do
Bernie
you
did
think
this or
Cohen will be
Bernie.
the president in 28?
No, Paul wouldn't survive 2 days in the presidency because he doesn't have the right temperament for it. He'd be a wonderful president, but he would not survive in the political arena.
It's never a good feeling, Sam,
Right.
to lose an election.
Of course
It's
not.
never a good-
Of course not.
But get over it.
E-
When you lose,
exactly.
get over it.
You know what, Bob? Here's my thing. The only thing worse than a sore loser is a sore winner. And Trump is a sore winner. You gotta knock it off. You won, Mr. President. You won. Move on.
Yeah,
Move on, please,
Oh,
okay?
Good point.
Yeah,
I agree with that, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you, he's got them on the run.
right.
He knows how to aggravate him.
Oh, boy, does he
Yeah.
know how to
He knows how to go to them. Yeah, he definitely knows how to do that. Because he toys with ideas and they think he's serious. Because they're trying to jump on anything and everything.
These people actually believe that Trump really wants to invade Greenland. Now, that is just pure nonsense. That is absolute nonsense.
Well, there's a lot of things that they believe,
know,
and we can
yeah,
start
I
to
mean,
list all of them
but-
very simply,
right.
even without discussion.
Yeah, nonsense, nonsense.
And my question
Yeah.
is, what does he want to do with Canada? Because if he had kept his mouth shut, they might have a conservative leader instead of the liberal leader.
He did the same thing to Canada that he did with Georgia. The reason we got the 2 Democrat senators from Georgia is because Trump, okay? If he hadn't done all that stuff with the election thing and the Senate wouldn't have flipped Democrat back then. It was his fault that happened,
Well,
okay?
there was a lot of factors
And
to
the same
that.
thing, now, I don't know in Canada, it's you can't say for certainty, but there certainly is a better chance that if we hadn't had all these Canada issues with Donald Trump since he's been the president in the last 100 days, there's a better chance that the conservative fellow would have won.
Yeah.
Okay? And
it's not that the conservative guy was going to kowtail to Trump at all. It
He-
would have changed the dynamic of what was going
he
on
just,
in Canada.
he cannot, I mean, and anybody who has watched Trump, even before he got into politics, okay, the man has no filter. He has
you-
no filter.
I think
do you
you're right,
think-
though. If he left Biden out of his words,
Stop it.
just forget Biden.
He's
Forget
gone.
him.
You won.
I
You're
ag-
the president.
I agree, Sam.
Okay.
Do you believe that, or think,
Right.
that he started on the thing on Canada as a distraction, so that there was something else the press could talk about other than what all of the stuff is he's trying to
You
achieve
don't
in this
know.
country?
With him, you don't know. And you know, it's too bad because he started off, and again, like I have said to many of my liberal friends, you know, at a 30,000-foot level, I agree with a lot of the president's thoughts and policies and trajectories. It's just the execution that is so awful, okay? So you take the situation with Canada. So when Trump, it was either just before he was elected or right after, I don't remember, because of course we remember that he was talking to heads of state, you know, even before he was elected, right? And he said, and I believe him, he was asked the question, and he said, well, Trump said, well, I had a nice conversation with Pierre Trudeau, who was the prime minister at the time. And he said, I asked the prime minister, he said, you realize that we as a nation, because of our trade policies and so forth, we are subsidizing Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year. And Trump is reporting the conversation, and he's saying, you know, I said that to the prime minister, and the prime minister said, yeah, that's right, we understand that. And Trump said, well, what would happen if all of a sudden we didn't do that? And allegedly, the prime minister said to Donald Trump, that would be the end of Canada. We'd be out of business. You know, so to me, that's the starting point, okay? You had those two guys, they had that conversation. That's the starting point. So you take that, and then you stop talking about it publicly, and you go behind the scenes, and you sit down with the Canadians, and you do that privately. You keep it out of the press, you keep your mouth shut, and you come to some sort of a deal with the Canadians, okay? But you don't do it the way he's been doing it, because now it's all blown up, it's blown out of proportion, people are twisting it around, and it's blown up in our face, and you know, that's my problem. The problem that he articulated is correct. The politicians, our politicians since the early 90s, have sold the United States economy down the river because we have embraced this globalization model, okay? And he's right, and it's awful, and it's put us in a terrible position from a security and national security standpoint.
Right, but it puts us in a terrible position,
But-
Sam, simply because nobody else is trying to do the same thing.
well-
They're all trying to take advantage of us to take us over.
That is
They're
ex-
not trying
that-
to work with
that
us in
is
order
ex-
to create
that-
a global society.
that was-
We're the only ones that have this lofty idea.
That's exactly correct, and that's the flaw, okay? And the flaw with China was, if we only open up our markets to China, and they see the benefits of how a free market works, they will become like us. Wrong. It's never worked that way in the history of the world, okay? And so our politicians, in my opinion, have sold us down the river. And Trump is right when he says that that's what's happened, and he's right when he says it's unsustainable for the United States, and he's right when he says we have to fix it. But blowing everything up is not the way to fix
Well,
it, okay?
also-
It's not the way to fix it.
I like the words. It's the way
No.
you talk. It's the way you talk. You can get in trouble the way you talk, you know? You
absolutely.
say some
Think?
things.
Yeah.
Well, no doubt.
Sure.
I'm just, and
It's
I'm not sick of everything
Yeah.
he's trying to do. I'm just sick of hearing Biden's name
Hey, what are
or
we doing in Fort
Harris's name.
Knox? That's
Yeah.
what I want. when are we going to
Have they
Fort
done
Knox?
that yet? Have
No.
they gone to
They're
Fort Knox?
moving the gold back there. Once they put it all back in,
They'll-
then
they'll- yeah,
then
they'll let 'em go see
let
it.
us see it.
All right, there you go.
But
If you're into conspiracy theories.
I
But-
pick up on just a few things on the
Go ahead.
words. The words Trump said lately to
Mm-hmm.
me that makes me just get stronger for him is he likes these words, made in America.
Oh, yeah. Who would,
That's-
who
Make
disagree?
our pills in America.
And again,
Make our drugs.
that's
Go
part
ahead,
of,
Sam.
that's
Yeah,
part
don't
of
be
the problem.
So dependent upon all these
So,
other countries.
one of the reasons that at the start of World War II, the Japanese and the Germans, the rational people that were in the Japanese and German governments, of course, we know that they were being run by irrational people, but the rational people understood that the war was over the day the United States got in, because they understood the industrial might of the United States. We were basically a self-sufficient country at that point. We had raw materials in this country. We didn't have to rely on other countries and so on and so forth. And we could immediately mobilize our industrial base to war production.
We couldn't do it
And,
today.
and that's the point, John. We can't do it today, and that's Trump's point, and he's right. We are vulnerable because we have allowed our industry and our industrial strength to be dispersed among all these other countries, and we're dependent on them. Bob mentioned pills, and we heard this during COVID. I think it was a huge shock and a wake-up call to people when the news media started saying, well, gee, we get 80% of our drugs from China, and they're the ones that gave us the virus. This is not good, okay? I mean, we should be able to make our own pills here, right?
My son made a statement to
So-
me, and he said, Dad, you tick off so many people because you're right, and they know you're right, and it angers them. And that's what Trump's doing about, why are our drugs made in China?
There's a lot of truth to
Can't
that.
believe it.
Yeah.
My drugs that I buy over to Walgreens, they're made in China.
Yep.
So-
What the heck are we doing?
But
this?
here's part of, but you're right, but here's
They
part
should
of.
be made in the USA.
Here's part of the problem, and let me just throw this hypothetical. So if you needed a drug, okay, we'll call it the XYZ drug. Okay.
Jardians.
Okay, you needed an XYZ drug.
Metformin, go ahead.
Okay, and you had a bottle of this drug on the shelf here, and the same drug over here, but this bottle was made in China, and this was made in the U.S., and the only difference was the U.S.
price.
bottle cost twice as much. Which one would you buy? You'd buy the Chinese one, wouldn't you? All right, so a lot of the problem is Americans have gotten addicted to the lower prices of foreign supplied stuff. This is part of the global economy. And that's why when you throw all these tariffs on all at once, you're going to disrupt that, and it's going to cause a huge problem, okay? And we're going to have a lot of unintended consequences. Now, the tariff situation is very complicated. It's not as simple as the Trump administration or the Trump critics would have you believe. It is a lot more complicated than what it appears to be, but it's still disruptive, okay? So it's going to be a problem, and he's right to take on the issue. The issue is correct. The situation is, how do you fix it? Is this the right way to fix it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure it is.
Well, how
No.
would you fix it, King?
The problem is it would take a long time to fix it, but I would deal with each country individually, okay? I wouldn't say, tariffs cross-board everybody, and China's 145%. I would not do that.
Well, I don't think it
Okay?
was that simple to start with. But
So-
I think that because that's another one of those little wrenches he throws out there, and then the press can go nuts over
Well, he
that.
breaks things. And
then he'll fix them.
His approach is to blow up everything and then put it back together. And I think that's a good approach for some things.
Yeah, but he's doing it with everything.
But not everything, okay?
Right,
Not
so
everything.
we have a few minutes before John's going to.
17 announcements.
Yeah, before he goes to make
17.
the 17 announcements. There was one thing that I thought
Been
we
saving
can
them up
always
for
talk
3
about.
weeks.
And Spain and Portugal had a power outage. As a result, and they don't even know why, and they still don't know why,
I
they
know
had a
it.
power outage.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yes. Well, we can get into conspiracy theories where they're testing out certain things in different areas to see what the reaction would be of the people, and to the extent how extensive it might be. If I want to get into that.
How much of their power, do you know how much of their power is supplied by nuclear? Because a lot of the
No,
European
I don't know that. I
countries-
didn't look
yeah.
anything up. I figured it was probably a 2-minute discussion.
Okay.
Because a lot of their transportation is electric.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow or another, most of the electricity got sucked down somewhere, but they can't figure out where.
That's not good.
And it turned everything off. And so therefore, people were stranded because they couldn't get anywhere because they were dependent on electricity. So when we
As
talk
the
here.
world is.
When we talk here about having everything electric and basically having the government in your kitchen and you
They
know,
are.
and almost in your bedroom to a certain extent, then you become so dependent on it that when they take it away, they control you.
The first rule, if you work in a corporate purchasing department, the first thing you are taught, you don't single source anything. Okay? That's the first thing you're taught. Don't, unless there's only one supplier, but you don't single source anything. And
You always have
for-
backup.
For the reason that Evelyn just said, you don't do that. So you can't have electricity as your only source of power. Can't
Really,
do it.
so how do you turn your lights on, Sam?
You can't have electricity as your only source of power.
Electricity is not going to go anywhere. It's a global resource that's used
That's
all
not what
over the world.
I'm not talking about. What I'm
We're
talking
not-
about
yeah.
is you can't eliminate other sources of creating energy.
Right,
You
so
can't do
instead of
that.
only having one plant make your electricity, you have several. So if
Right.
one goes down,
Right.
you can use the backup. I think
Hello?
that's what the point is. So
Yes.
now we're going to turn it over to John. You can turn the
You
the
can shut your
mics
mics off if you want to chatter over there. If you want an announcement on City Life, easy thing to do, send me a text message. Get the message to me. I'll be glad to put it out there. Okay, tonight,
Ooh,
Thursday, May 1st, kickoff fundraiser for Belinda Duran. Nice gal. I met her over to McDonald's one day. She wanted to sit down and have a cup of coffee, and we had a pleasurable conversation. But tonight she's having a party, Thursday, May 1st, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Long Meadow Golf Club, 165 Havilah Street. And hope to see you over there. Moving right along, this is out in charming Chelmsford, coming up soon, May 3rd, this Saturday. Now, if you have a refrigerator you want to get rid of, you got a lawnmower, you got a snow blower, I don't care what the thing is, look at this list of things right here. Take your fancy phone out of your pocket, go take a picture of this. And if you want to get rid of your snow blower, lawnmower, yard equipment, bicycle, metal furniture, they'll take it. So get it in your car, and you can drag it over, and it's $5 to $25 per item, depends on what it is. You got that old refrigerator you want to get rid of? Well, you call somebody who's got a van, slide it in the back of the van, and bring it over there. Bam, gone. But there's a fee for all this stuff, so you can have a van loaded with stuff. It's only $85.
Except what's in the star.
Whatever.
See in the star, it says extra for TV monitors and refrigerators. It's to the left of that.
yeah. $40.
Extra for TV monitors, $40 each.
Yeah.
Yep.
Refrigerators, $40 each.
I was going to go and then I saw that. I said,
You want to correct anything else?
nope.
Okay, good. If you want more information, take your phone out, put it in camera mode on this QR code, tell you all about it. And that's this Saturday. Be there or be square. See you then. Adrian Kamborowicz Memorial Fundraiser is going to be Saturday, May 3rd. And 6 to 11 p.m. at the Bunting Club, 449 Boylston Street in lovely Lowell, Massachusetts. They'll have a lot of DJs, food truck raffles, the door prize. For more information, take your phone out of your pocket. They got the guy in charge it is for, yes, he has his own foundation. Sorry, I misread that. Okay, so Saturday, May 3rd, 6 to 11 p.m. Adrian Kamborowicz Memorial Fundraiser. This is pretty cool. It's happening this weekend. Points of Light, this is the canal that goes between Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church, that's the one with the gold dome, and St. Patrick's Church. There's a canal between there, and they put these bags with candles in them, and they float them down the canal. Very pretty sight, and that's happening this Saturday from 5 to 10 p.m. It's got to be dark for it to look nice. Moving right along, campaign kickoff party at Long Meadow Golf Club for Erin Gendron. It's going to be Monday, May 5th, 6 to 8 p.m. Donations start at $15 and go up. And that's again at the Long Meadow Golf Club. If you need somebody who needs prayers, you call these gals up. The Monastery of St. Clair's, the Poor Clare Sisters. Call them up, their phone number's down there. Tell them they oftentimes don't answer machine. Just put in the answer machine what you want them to pray for, and these gals work miracles. So God bless them. Thank you, Poor Clare Sisters. Today is May 1st. So if you want to slide over to the senior center around 10:30. Around 10, what's the matter, Bobby?
Nothing. We're
Okay.
good. We're good,
Okay,
buddy.
meatballs, spaghetti and meatballs today at the senior center. Be there or be square. Go over there around 10:30 with your $2. If you don't have the $2, you can eat for free. And that's the end of my announcements, Evelyn.
That wasn't bad.
No, not bad at all.
It's
So back to you.
beautiful.
Yeah. That was
I thought
good.
we were gonna have like 10 minutes worth.
Can
Well,
I,
there's stuff that was like,
oh, he was just giving you a hard time.
No,
that didn't come up, like the neighborhood meeting from the cops. I don't know why that didn't come up.
Well,
You wanna
that's
do that
okay.
now?
Well, it's crazy. I mean, I lit them all up, they didn't come up.
Oh, there you go.
And there's a lot more stuff that we missed. So these are the neighborhood meetings. I don't know what's going on with my computer today. It's not showing all the announcements.
Did you see yesterday, I dropped my grandson off at Lowell High, and on the way down, some woman in a wheelchair that just goes out for little strolls around the new court, she seen a taillight in the canal. So she called, 911 and reported it, and they came up, they pulled the car out of the water, and there's a dead person in it.
Down
Yeah.
by the courthouse, the new
Down
courthouse.
by the courthouse yesterday.
Oh, boy.
There was firemen and cops everywhere,
Sad.
so I knew there was something. I thought they had a bomb scare or something.
Did they
But,
ever find that little boy that they think fell in the Merrimack?
Not yet.
Jeez.
Not yet.
That's awful.
And there's other things that's out there too.
So this is St. Michael's Church. They're get rid of your unwanted, unused household stuff. Support St. Michael's yard sale in summer. So they're going to have collection May 1st. That's today through May 31st. On Friday, 9 to 4. Saturday, 7:30 to 5. So drop off your stuff. They'd love to have it. Colin Miller sent me this. This guy Jeff Kuna. I listened to him on the radio. He's on WRKO in the morning. He's probably on the air now. And interesting fellow to listen to. He's having a rally May 17th, flag waving thing.
He's a very right-wing guy.
Yeah, so I don't see, Boston at the Boston State House. So never heard of the place, but that's okay. Auditthelegislature.com. Thank you, Carla, for sending us that way. And
I did send you something on Facebook Monday night.
I don't have it, kiddo. So when we go back, you can talk about it.
Can I make?
Okay, so Healing
sorry.
Mass at the Immaculate Conception Church
he's
is
still
coming up
going.
Wednesday, May 28th. Healing Mass in honor of Saint Pellegrini. I gotta ask Father Sinella how we say this guy's name. With anointing of the sick, Immaculate Conception Church, 144 East Merrimack Street, Wednesday, May 28th. Ascension Thursday evening, 6:30 p.m. All are welcome. School's going to end. Tewksbury put this out, and school ends, I'm going to guess, all over the place, June 17th. But in Tewksbury, the school ends June 17th, and it's only a half day. So school end is coming up, got just about a month to go. So Ev, I'm going to conclude there, and you have an announcement that you sent I didn't get.
I just sent it again via Facebook because you asked me to do that. You want me to send it on a
I'll
text?
go look on Facebook.
Because we're going to discuss it.
Can I make just one small comment before we start? I do want to congratulate Harrison Mayotte, who is Chelmsford's former assistant in the town clerk's office. Harrison ran for the town clerk's position in Townsend. It's an elected position in Townsend. And he won election as the Townsend town clerk. And he may be, I don't know this, but he may be the youngest town clerk in the state. He's only 20 years old, okay?
Smart kid.
And he's a very, very, very bright person and extremely capable, and he served with us for a little bit of time on the Board of Assessors. He wasn't able to complete his classes and certification, but he was, because he was only there a short time. But congratulations to Harrison. That is quite an accomplishment, and I think we're looking forward to having good things, hearing good things about him in the years to come. So he's got his work cut out for him in Townsend, but he certainly will hit the ground running because he knows how to be a town clerk, because he's been doing it in Chelmsford for the last 3 years, so.
Beautiful.
Yep.
So Evelyn, this is about noisy trucks?
Yes, so this
So
is
tell us
Ledge.
more.
This is Ledge Road in North Chelmsford. They will have a meeting on June 5th at the Chelmsford Police Department Community Room to discuss this issue. There was a cease and desist order to the Ledge Road Realty Holdings LLC, AKA Newport, to end the misuse of Ledge Road for commercial traffic. So there are pictures that they've taken as to how many of those huge trucks are going through that neighborhood. It is not zoned for that. I'm under the impression that
You're gonna lose, but go ahead.
there's only one way in and out. And so they have to go before the zoning board of appeals because it's not zoned for that. And if they have to rezone it, it's got to go to town meeting for approval after they do that. So that's not on this piece of paper. So if Newport had the right to appeal, and they're going to do that on June 5th. So CM may know a little more about this. I know that Glenn my husband was a little bit more involved with this. We were going to have somebody on, but John told me only 30 minutes. I don't know if that's worth it, but if we put this on and have the discussion on this for the month of May, there may be a lot more awareness of this, and anything like this can happen anywhere. Not just in Chelmsford's community, but other communities also.
Evelyn, they have a right to use the road, but they don't have a right to be extra loud. So if the town has an ordinance on sound, and I'm sure Chelmsford has an ordinance about sound, you put a cop down there with a sound detector.
Sound
and
level meter, yeah.
If these truck drivers have a bad habit of what's called jake braking,
Compression braking, right.
loudest thing on the planet.
Yep.
And it's as loud as the space shuttle taking off. It's wicked loud. And that's what they're doing to irritate the neighbors. And once you tell a truck driver where your buttons are, he is going to press those buttons. And we don't like jake braking. We had the issue at the Mahoney Funeral Home. We had it for years. Trucks jake braking down Nesmith Street. And it just never went away. And city councilors didn't care, the cops didn't care, there's nothing we can do about it. You have a town selectman, they've got to enforce the ordinance and get a cop up there with a sound detector and ticket these people, make it a $500 fine. You charge somebody $500, they're not going to do it a second time.
Well, first of all, they're not, the way that the cease and desist order reads, it didn't have to do with sound. It had to do
Right.
with the actual location of a truck on a private road.
Right.
So the way it read
It's a
was,
private road, not a town road?
the private portion of Ledge Road in Chelmsford is located within the RB Single Residential Zoning District under the Chelmsford zoning bylaw.
Does the town own the road or is it privately owned? Do you own the road?
No, the town does. Are you
It's
listening?
not a private road. If the town owns a road,
Are
respectfully.
you listening? They restricted
You can call
North
it-
Road from having any kind of tractor trailers come down to it for years and years and years.
You can call
You
it
could not
anything
have a
you want.
tractor trailer truck come down a Route 4 that they restricted. Can I finish reading this,
State
please?
road.
Go right ahead. but
State
you're
road.
going to lose in court.
So it said, It is my understanding, this is the building commissioner, my understanding that the commercial vehicles using Ledge Road to access the property are associated with your earth removal operation on the property. Earth removal, including associated use of commercial vehicles, is prohibited in the RB zoning district. Accordingly, you are hereby ordered to cease and desist the use of Ledge Road by any commercial vehicles associated with the commercial earth removal operation on the property. So if you were listening carefully there, it says that you have an RB zone and you cannot have commercial vehicles be used in an RB zone. It can't go through there. And then they give them the right to appeal.
So understand, first of all, RB for the audience means single family. Single family, 1 acre. That's the RB zone, okay? Secondly, the appeal is not to a court. The appeal is to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Okay, so to me, what the ZBA will do is they will uphold the bylaw as it reads. Okay, so now the question becomes, is the town bylaw legally enforceable? Okay, as a matter of state law. That, to me, will be the issue, and I'm not sure that it is, okay? So we'll have to wait and see. Now, what you can do, and John's right when he says it's very difficult to regulate these things because of the concept that it's a public road and people have the right to use it. But what they can do, obviously, is they can regulate speed, but they can also regulate the weight of the load of the vehicle, because many commercial trucks are overweight, okay, because it saves the trucker money. I mean, density and weight.
Plus, they don't weigh them at the same.
Right.
They
Yeah,
don't
the
weigh them.
problem is weigh them, but an officer has the right to pull over a vehicle that he suspects may be overweight. The problem is if you do that, you have to have a way of weighing the truck, right? But it is difficult. It is difficult to regulate it. But the appeal is going to be to our local zoning board of appeals. It's not
Well,
to a
Stan,
court of
if you
law.
go the weight route, you gotta ask the state police if they can send down
Correct. Yeah.
their truck team, and they have a weighing machine.
Correct, but, that's a limited resource. I mean, you can't call them at 8 o'clock in the morning and they've got something there at 9, you know what I mean? So that's a problem.
You know what would be interesting, not that nobody would ever do this, and this
Yeah.
may be an extreme, is that you put a weighing station and you make every truck weigh on the way out. And the question is, can you
Yeah.
tax them or have a fee of all those trucks going across that?
Well, it's a state regulation. You can't have overweight vehicles. It's a safety issue, okay?
Right, but if you had a weigh-in station, that would cut down the amount of traffic.
Oh,
because each of those
absolutely.
has to go. It
Just
would
the
delay.
aggravation
Yeah.
and the delay factor alone
Right, and the question of
would
the
discourage
cost.
the
What's it gonna
trucks.
cost to erect a weigh station?
No.
I understand that. That's why I said, it depends on what the cost would
That's
be.
why I'd call the state
Yeah.
cops, have them come up once a month, don't tell us the day, just come up, park on that road and weigh every truck.
That's what they did years ago when we had the problem on Route 110, Littleton Road, with the asphalt trucks. Okay, that's what they did. The state police came out and,
But I'm confident
Right.
the neighbors are not gonna be bothered by the trucks if they don't make the noise they're making.
Did you see that picture? How do I get out of my driveway?
I think that, you're right, John, but it goes beyond the noise.
There isn't lined up 500 trucks, there probably one comes by every 5 minutes.
If this issue's been going on a long time at Ledge Road, the neighbors have complained, and they've said their main concern is the safety issue with the trucks in the neighborhood. They're not really
What's the
concerned.
safety?
Well, just
They can't
the
stop?
large trucks on small roads and small children in the neighborhood, they're very concerned about that.
That's rural America.
Yeah, well, but I'm just telling you, that's their complaint.
Yeah, I don't think, I don't
okay.
think.
Well, anyway, the bottom line here
Yeah.
is right now is that there will be a meeting on June 5th at 7 o'clock at the Chelmsford Police Department, and if you agree or disagree and you would like your voice heard,
Go.
then you can go to that, and we can
Sam,
pick this
Jensen
up next week, too.
Jensen have a lawyer that works for the town exclusively, or you have a team of lawyers?
We have a law firm, Copeland and
So
Page.
I would ask Paul Cohen to direct the question to them. Can they legally, in Massachusetts, in their professional legal opinion, stop these trucks? Don't give these people false hope. We're gonna have a law.
Believe me, this issue's been going on for at least 5 or 6 years, and there's been plenty of involvement with the town attorneys.
I think it's false hope. I don't think it can happen.
It's difficult to
I'm not gonna
regulate.
take it, not a lawyer.
It's difficult to regulate trucks on public roads. It's difficult.
The other question I would
Right.
have is, if you have a cease and desist order, are they still traveling the road?
Well, not unless they,
Are they in violation of the cease and desist
well,
order
of course,
from the town?
of course they are. But
Okay.
the issue now becomes legal. Is it enforceable at the level of state law?
The company is thumbing their nose.
It happens all the time,
They
okay?
have a lawyer and they know what the next step's
Yeah,
gonna be.
it happens all the time.
Well, they're gonna have a cease and desist order, and, okay, we'll see in court.
That's exactly right.
We'll see in court. When
That's
do you
right.
think it's gonna go to
That's
court?
right.
What year?
Oh, who knows?
Who
I'm only-
knows?
all I'm doing is I told them that I would talk
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
And here we are, and we're talking about it. Now, the other thing that we.
So you met your commitment.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Well, and I'm going to do it right every week. We'll make the comment in case anybody is interested
Right.
in that
Nice
part.
topic, thank you.
Thank you very much for putting that up, John. So, Chelmsford has a charter and representative town meeting representatives. We have, 11 precincts?
And 165 town meeting representatives.
Yeah. So we met Monday night, and the charter determines when we meet. So we have a spring town meeting, we have a fall town meeting. Spring town meeting is basically budget, and a lot of monetary issues that would come up. We have the town budget, we have the capital budget, we have Neshoba, vocational technical high school
We have
budget.
we have to authorize all the revolving funds and.
Yep, all the
Yeah.
revolving, everything that's
Yeah.
there. Some of the stuff is standard procedure, so they now have a consent agenda. You can explain the consent
Oh, yeah,
agenda.
that saves a lot of time.
Yep, so they lump a lot of the articles together, and we have one vote rather than going through them one at a time like we used to.
Well, voting them one at a time. The town manager still explains each article.
Yes.
Okay.
So we went through pretty much most everything on Monday night. So tonight is Thursday. We will conclude this evening.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we had one of the articles that was withdrawn according to Sam. So you want to talk about that?
I hope I'm right. My source is about as good as you can get, and I was informed at 5:30 this morning that the lighting article would be withdrawn. And so we have a citizen's petition warrant article that seeks to change the Chelmsford bylaw with respect to the types of outdoor lighting that are allowed under the bylaw. And I think the issue with the bylaw is that it's too comprehensive and it covers too much ground, and it regulates lights on commercial and residential property and also covers municipal-owned lights. So if this bylaw were to be enacted in the form that it was presented, there would be a tremendous expense to the town, because the town would have to replace all of its lighting fixtures. And I forget the number, our DPW director told us in the FinCom what she estimated. It was, several $1 million, I forget, but, so the Finance Committee looked at the article and unanimously recommended that it not be adopted. And the reason is because they felt it was just too much. It was overkill in terms of regulation. All right. So I think I'm guessing that the sponsor of the article probably has been hearing from people over the last few days that this really doesn't have much of a chance to be passed in its present form, and I think that's probably why the article has been withdrawn. And that's usually what happens if an article, a citizen petition article gets presented, and then the feedback informally is, this probably won't pass. A lot of times the citizen will withdraw the article and maybe come back at a later time with a revised article that eliminates a lot of the objectionable stuff that's in there. So my guess is, I don't think, Kelly Beatty is the citizen petitioner, so my guess is if he's withdrawing the article, he will come back at a later session with a simpler article. I mean, that would be my guess.
Oh, yeah, because this was extensive.
Yeah, I think that would be
And
my
this
guess.
is not a new thing, because he had come before town meeting before to discuss the light pollution.
This has been an issue with him for many years.
Right,
That's correct.
this is not a new thing.
Right.
And it's not new in the country either, because people are taking a look at that. So, in case anybody wants to know what our budget is, obviously you have the.
168 million. That's the municipal budget, and that includes the school budget as well.
One of the slides that came up was the percent increase in some of the items that we have to deal with on an annual basis.
The so-called uncontrollables like pension and insurance liability.
Yes.
Right.
So, just so that I don't have the slide to give to John, I could take a picture and that, if anybody's interested in
No, we can talk
seeing
about
it
it.
versus discussing it, because we're going to run out of time. We're going to make sure that if Bob has some issues, we talk about those too as we conclude this morning. The Chelmsford Public Schools budget for this year, in comparison to last year, has increased by 2.4%. And I think since Jay has been there, the superintendent of schools, I think that's the smallest percent increase that they've had in that budget
Right.
since he became superintendent.
That's correct.
Other department budgets, that would be like the rest of the budget, has gone up 0.58%.
Yeah.
So when everybody
About a
seems-
0.5%, right.
everybody seems to be complaining about how much everything costs, okay? School department, 2.4%, the rest of the municipal budget, 0.58%. This is just on the operating costs that you have.
Now, the point to make here is, these are not level service budgets. So the school department budget contains some reductions, okay, in terms of number of people, reductions in force. And the municipal budget also has reductions in force. In fact, the town did layoffs about 2 months ago. We actually laid people off, okay? So the town manager made a determination on the municipal side, because he does not control the school budget, that in order to meet the requirement of a balanced budget, and balanced in terms of the revenue coming in, that the staff reductions would have to occur. So they were made. So for those folks out there who say the government never cuts people, we've done it in Chelmsford.
Oh, we do it a lot.
And it's been done in the past, too.
Oh, yeah, quite a bit.
But this particular year, there was some reduction in force.
And the school department also
And
did not rehire in place of people who had
Well,
left.
and they actually did, I think, do a couple of reductions as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, the school department did it by not filling open positions, essentially, so. yeah.
Right, and our debt service budget actually went down 1.5%.
Yes, it did, and that's a good thing.
Right, because as that decreases, it shows that we do have the capacity that if we want to do a building of Parker Middle School, we'll be able to
And
do that.
it helps our bond rating, too.
Right. However, the thing that people need to understand is that benefits and insurance went up 12.47%,
Yeah.
roughly 12.5%. That's the big number, is the insurance. When we think about why it may go up, I can throw a couple of things out there, but we don't need to have an extensive discussion on it. And, because I was thinking to myself, why does health insurance have to go up? And by the way, the health insurance isn't free to town employees. The town picks up a percentage of the health insurance.
70%.
And you also have the retirees on the health insurance. And
60%.
They pay 60%, the town pays 40%. Some stuff has been negotiable with unions, and some things aren't, but generally speaking, that's how that is. So the employees, it's not free to them, they are paying a certain amount towards their health insurance.
And just for reference, okay, the state requires that you pay at least 50%. That is state law. So if you live in a town and you're upset and you say, well, the town shouldn't pay, the town has to pay at least 50%. That is state law. They can't get around that. Okay, just wanted to make that point.
So there's a lot of things that's out there as far as expenses that when we complain about our real estate taxes, that what Chelmsford is trying to do is to work within that. And
We have to.
Well, you have overrides, but it's never going to work in
That
Chelmsford.
doesn't, overrides don't work in Chelmsford.
No.
We don't pass overrides.
So we're just trying to figure out, revenue in that. There was another article, which we don't unless you guys have something to add to this, that the town manager wanted $50,000 to do a study on efficiencies of government and consolidation of departments.
And revenue opportunities.
And, yeah, there was a whole lot of stuff. Well, we have already been through this. I voted against that because, and the reason being,
You did?
I did.
I'm shocked.
So was Glenn. He looked at me, he goes, "You voted against it?"
Did
I
he
said,
vote,
"Absolutely."
did he vote for it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you
So,
go.
the reason I voted against it is simple. The last time we did this, we got people in the town together on a committee.
I was on the committee.
I was there, and who, they were from different departments.
Yep.
There were people that did this for a living.
Yep.
And for free, we all discussed revenue generating and cost savings measures within the town.
I still have the
And
files.
we have all of the paperwork
Mm-hmm.
with regard to that. And it was extremely limited because of how many things the town, we'll put that in quotes, actually have implemented over the years.
The problem,
It's less-
again, is what we learned, if we didn't already know it, is how much control the town doesn't have. And this is something that people in Massachusetts don't generally understand. The average citizen in the town thinks that the selectman and the town manager can just decree and do everything. In Massachusetts, the Massachusetts model, towns and cities are creatures of the state legislature. You have no idea how restricted towns and cities are in the decisions they can make and what they do. Okay, the state has to approve just about everything. And it's a shock when you get on a town committee and you learn that. You think, oh, well, we can do this and we can do that. And then you find out, well, wait a minute, the state has to approve it.
Yeah.
Okay? And people don't generally understand that. So I understand why people get upset with their local elected officials, because they think, oh, they can do anything. Well, the reality is they can't, okay? And it's a real problem. And so when we did this cost saving and revenue thing, we came up with a lot of ideas, and then we're researching it. We said, well, wait a minute. We can't implement this stuff because state law won't allow it, okay?
Well, and in
that's
some cases, it would take a
Yeah.
vote of the town.
That's a problem.
So, Bob,
Yeah.
do you have any pressing topics, or do you have any questions on what we've talked about, or anything to
Right-
bring up?
right
Because
now-
I have more stuff.
Well, right now, after listening to the past few minutes, I look at where I was brought up in the home, right next to Cavaliero's on Lawrence Street, a little yellow house. My grandfather paid $500 for that house.
Is it still there?
It's still there, and it's for sale now for
Oh.
$400,000.
Wow. And he paid
that's-
what?
He paid $500.
Wow.
But there was some fire damage to it. He lived in Lawrence at the time, and he seen it for $500. He bought it.
Wow, good deal.
Yeah, he fixed up the inside a little bit, but if you put a ball on the floor, it rolled all the way down to the other side of the house. It's just unbelievable. Like, my house is mainly a 2x3 construction, and they're telling me my house, I can't believe this, is worth $600,000, and I paid $85,000.
It's the land, Bob.
But they just keep going. Yeah, I know. I do
Right.
have the biggest piece of land
It's
on
the
the
land.
street.
That's where the
But-
money is.
It just seems like that's all
Yeah.
they're doing, raising the price of our houses. And that's how they play the tax game, oh, it's worth this much, or it's worth that much.
That's why the city doesn't care about parking. They want the tax money.
There isn't any parking.
Well, that's an
Yeah.
interesting.
It's just unbelievable how
And we're
much they
seeing
cost.
the Boston City Council get all yelling and screaming. You created an environment, and now you have to live with it. You let people build houses
That's
with
true.
no parking, and the city council's the future. This is what they're gonna have to put up with.
Yeah, and you know what their answer is? Don't allow cars in the city. That'll be their answer.
Exactly.
And the only really pressing issue for me is our election coming up. It's, my
I say
district is
don't vote for
Belvedere.
them. Vote for somebody else.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
the
well,
problem
that's-
is you gotta have people
Yep.
willing to
Right, and
run.
that's a segue into you running for
Well,
office.
no, and what he's talking about right now,
Yeah.
my
We're
district,
pretty good with
District
this.
3, Belvedere, the old swamp, whatever you want to call it, is now has 4 people running.
For
And it's
what?
unbelievable for city council,
council?
for the district seat.
Wow.
Not at large, the
Are
district
these
seat.
new people we haven't heard
John
about?
advertised a few of them right
Yeah,
here.
right, I hadn't- I did- I-
Linda Geron, I
Okay.
think that's how you pronounce her last name.
Did not know those
And
people.
Gendron. Yeah, those two, he just advertised they have parties coming up. And there's,
Johnny Dakota had a party last night.
and there's
I wasn't able to
also,
go.
there's also Dan Finn and Corey Belanger.
Well, it's good
And-
that people are stepping up and wanting to run for these positions.
But people still have time to change their mind. You don't have to pull papers till June, okay? So
Okay.
if you say you're running district, that's fine. But after you see who has the most signs out in your district, you might want to change your mind and run citywide. You just might. And, because sometimes your district might not have all your friends.
How many citywide, we have 3 citywide spots, is that right? Out of a-
Citywide at large, we talking?
Yes.
Yeah, that, you pick 3.
Okay, so there's 3 and the rest of a district runs.
Right.
Okay.
They'll pick 3 to be at large.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I think we have like 4 people running for those 3 seats.
Now, doesn't Rita run at large usually?
Yes, she does, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and, we, last election, this show especially, we all picked Eric Gitcher to top the ticket. Ned Tommy was with Rita Mercier
And
coming
Ge-
in second.
yeah, and Getcher is at large.
And we picked Corey Belanger, though, on this show
Oh.
to come in third.
Oh, that's interesting.
But he came in fourth.
Well,
And Ned Tommy, which is out right now, he fell down. I hope you heal up, Ned. But Ned said if the election went another week or two, Corey might have fell into the
Possible.
third spot. Now, he's running district this time, which I think personally is a mistake, but he still has time to say, you know what?
you're talking about Belanger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Because right now, the early sign for me, if you're looking at signs, and signs don't vote, Sam, but when you look at them in a district race like this, I would have to say the guy that I'm trying to help right now, and Danny Finn, might have the edge, not much, over Gendron.
Well, signs don't vote, but they are an,
No.
they are an
Oh, yeah.
indication of strength and support, okay?
Yeah.
So it is important.
Yeah, and I feel good about the candidate that I'm working for because I've been very busy with my own life, but I went around looking and I think he's done a
So-
good job so far.
So you're running for school committee
I'll be
again?
running at large for the school
Okay.
committee because, listen, Sam, I sat on this show for a few years now calling my district the swamp, right? And now I live in that
Now you
district
live in the swamp.
because of
Okay.
redistricting. It's
There you
just the
go.
way things happen.
You didn't move an inch and you
No,
found
yeah,
yourself
right.
in a different spot.
No, but to me, it's all good, you know. All I care about is making sure Eric Gitcher tops the ticket. And in my district, I want the best candidate that's going to kind of work with Eric a little bit because he can't get 5 votes. He only gets about 4 on any big issue. And I can't believe that.
So
It's
who
just
do you-
me.
so if-
That's my opinion.
Given the current slate of candidates, I know it's early to talk about.
Yeah.
But who do you think the next mayor might be?
I think it'll be Dan Rock again.
Again? Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Especially if he keeps
I think he's done a good job.
so far so
Yeah,
good.
I
No
think
doubt
he's done
about
a
He
it.
has a
job.
presence.
Yeah, oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but if you watch the meetings, I try to catch all of them, and I don't catch all of them, but I try. Watching the mayor and just Eric working together or not together is incredible to watch, that's all.
What are we
I
talking?
got this the other day. This is a comment from one of our viewers. This is the city manager's salary.
Okay.
Full city manager's salary,
Now, this was in the paper the other day.
264,000, not all this, 264,000. 52 weeks, it comes out to 5,000 bucks a week. If he takes the health insurance, it's in the rough, if he takes it, it's another 20 grand, but we don't know. He gets 5 weeks day vacation, so that benefit's worth $25,000, because you can bank it. He receives 12 sick days, 3 personal days, 3 weeks, if you use 5,000 bucks for 3 weeks, it's 15 grand, because you can bank that. I believe we're at 13 paid holidays. I don't think you can bank them.
No.
That's $13,000. And there's all sorts of conference paid also. Bernie Lynch used to go to conference. I don't,
Yep.
I
They
don't-
all do. They all do it.
oh, they all go?
This was in the Lowell Sun. I saw this in the Lowell Sun, this accounting. Yes, a couple of days ago.
Maybe the viewer sent it to the Lowell Sun too.
Yeah, could be.
If those pieces, if those are the pieces you are looking at. It's roughly 338,000. Doesn't include his car.
Yeah, that's right, he gets a vehicle.
And
Yep.
cell phone.
Right, cell phone, yep.
So, doesn't include that.
Okay, so we're going to run out of time.
Good work if you can get it.
Put it out there. Thank you.
Yep. So we only have a few minutes. I don't expect any discussion of this. We have to watch the time because Glenn basically said it ends at 59:29.
In Evelyn's world, Chelmsford, the sun rises and sets over
Yeah,
Chelmsford.
well,
I have,
that's right.
I have a lot
Yeah.
of friends in Chelmsford too, but I'd just like to throw something in
Go.
when you were talking about the insurance cost. Approximate numbers. I'm a retired state prison guard, which you all know. I pay maybe between $400 and $500 a month out of my money for my insurance policy.
For health
The
insurance?
state- Yes.
Okay.
The state is paying roughly $1,500 or $1,600 a month.
That's right, that's right.
So in a way, I get a pretty good deal.
It's a good deal.
It's a good deal.
Tomorrow City Life,
Yep.
Cliff's going to be the host. Eileen Del Rossi's expected, and Lowell's sons, Melanie Gilbert's going to be here too. That's tomorrow City Life. Almost
Right.
out of time, man.
And next week, we'll have Vivian Merrill. John Moses is the following week. We do have Paul Cohen coming in. Thanks, guys, for getting up extra special early today. And everybody, enjoy the weather out there. I want people to watch any changes in 40B. The state's thinking about changing and raising the percentages for all the cities and towns on what
God,
it is
here
that
we
they
go.
can do.
Ah.
So that was one of the things that I wanted to bring up.
What did you bring up?
40B.
40B.
Affordable
State's
housing.
looking at it, even though there's a
I
high
thought
percentage
that
of
was a
people.
brass size, but never mind. Move
All
the
right,
page.
we'll talk later about that. Everybody have a great day and stay safe.
I didn't hear that. What are they talking about
See you tomorrow.
in terms of
It's in
percentage?
the article, I think.